Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be about how I used to hide my alopecia, and I just want to put a disclaimer in at the beginning that I am by no means saying you have to hide alopecia. I am purely making this video as advice to those who may have decided that the best option for themselves is to hide their alopecia and they are looking for products that might be able to help them in doing this. So obviously, like I touched on in my last video, I went about 7 years hiding my alopecia, and for about 3 of those years my hair loss was very patchy, and I picked up some tips on how you could hide this. Those tips obviously helped me through school in disguising how extensive my hair loss was getting. So the first tip that I want to talk about is eyeshadow, and I used eyeshadow and makeup products like mascara and eyeliner to hide a lot of the hair loss that I was suffering from at the front of my hair. So for me, my hairline was a part of my hair loss that got gradually worse over time. However, in the beginning it was quite possible to hide it with makeup. So what I used to do was I would grab an eyeshadow that was similar to the colour of my natural hair, and I would apply this using a dense brush, like a foundation brush, and I would put the eyeshadow onto the brush and use this at the front of the hairline. I found that if the colour of your scalp was disguised, the hair loss just wasn't so obvious because people couldn't see the skin, they could just see the colour of your hair, and unless somebody is getting extremely close to you, they're not going to notice that hair is missing from that patch. So similarly, can't say that word. So similar to the eyeshadow, you can also buy products that are hair fibres. Now, I personally used to use Toppik, and this was extremely helpful if you had hair missing on your parting. So to begin with, I would try moving my parting around, and as the patches got worse, I would then use Toppik to fill in the patches. I'll try and put a picture of what this looks like on the screen. However, this was extremely helpful to any little gaps on the top of my head. It was extremely difficult to apply to the front because the hair fibres in the bottle just kind of go where they want to go. But it is useful on the top of your head because obviously in a downwards motion they just kind of cover the patches that might be missing. Again, this works in the same way that the eyeshadow does, in that it hides the colour of your scalp, making the patches a lot less obvious. The third option, if you are suffering from thinning hair at the back of your hair, may be to use teasing or backcombing. This was something that I used a lot when I was getting extremely progressively thinner hair. So as my hair was falling out in the back, I would bring all of the hair from the front backwards and backcomb it to hide the fact that obviously a lot of hair was missing in the back. That, followed by adding extensions, can make your hair look a lot thicker than it actually is. So the next tip would be to look at different types of extensions. Now for me, when my alopecia was in round circular patches on my head, sticking extensions worked really well to basically stick on top of the bald patch. Now this obviously can sometimes cause damage to the hair that's there, so if you are losing hair and it's growing back, this option may not be as useful for you. But if you're like me and your hair is falling out and it's getting to a point where it's not looking likely that the hair is going to grow back and it's basically just sticking onto skin, that can work really well just to hide the patches that may be in the back of your head, so that if the wind blows they're not exposed. So following on from the hair extensions, as hair loss can get worse, you may actually be able to look into toppers. Now I personally never used these in my alopecia journey, however I don't really think that they were as advanced as they are now. So nowadays they are extremely realistic, and toppers, if you're not aware, are basically a rounded hair extension, I suppose, that clips onto the top of your head and basically can hide any patches that are underneath the topper. This works extremely well if you have an extremely thinning parting and you would like something to basically create a new parting. Toppers work extremely well from what I have seen on Instagram and other people in the alopecia community. An option that I looked into quite late, but also I think would have been extremely beneficial to me, was a Upart wig. So if you're not aware of what this is, it's basically a wig where you don't need the parting. So if you aren't used to wearing wigs, then you may not be aware that the hardest part about a wig is the hairline and the parting. So trying to make that look natural is extremely difficult, and although wigs these days have advanced so much, they are still in a process, I guess, of looking more natural. If you don't want a full wig, a Upart wig might be a good option for you. So this basically, for as far as I'm aware, just kind of grips across the top and then you can pull your own parting through. That is going to add a lot of thickness to your hair, and it's something that I wish I had tried back when I was going through my hair loss, because thickness in my hair was something that I really lacked, and that would have been a great option just to make my hair look fuller and give a bit more length to the hair that I had. This is an extremely good option to obviously create more hair, but also not put pressure on the hair that you have. So I struggled when I was wearing extensions, then I started developing traction alopecia too, and if you don't know what that is where the extension was pulling on my natural hair, and because I was wearing them every day, that was again causing even worse alopecia. Something that's protective but also not pulling on your existing hair is extremely useful. So other types of extensions that you may find useful are extensions that basically you can use for different styles. So I'm talking about ponytails that you can buy, scrunchies that have hair on them, so if you tied your hair back and then obviously put the scrunchie on top, it looks like you have more hair than you do. These extensions are great if you have enough hair to create that style, but your hair is very thin and you need something extra in the back. For me, at some points in my alopecia when my hair was falling out and then growing back, I could wear my hair in a certain style, and then as the alopecia got worse, I could no longer wear my hair in that style. But for a very long time, wearing my hair so that the front was down and then the rest was back combed over to the back with a headband actually really worked well for me in school. If it's something that works and you feel confident wearing it, then definitely try styles with like hairbands, fake scrunchies. I've seen some of the extensions like the ponytails and the scrunchies these days, and they just look far more realistic than when I was a teenager going through alopecia. If you're like me and when I was a teenager extremely scared to try out a wig, there are options like the Upart wig that are also like smaller wigs. So you can buy half wigs and you can also buy 3/4 wigs, and these basically grip from say here back or from even further back, and they will hide all of the back of your hair basically. So any bald patches that you're experiencing in the back of your hair can be concealed with these products, but they also allow you to still have your natural hairline in the front. I personally haven't worn them, but obviously since having alopecia for 10 years, I have looked into these options now, and I think they probably would have worked for me when I was going through alopecia areata. And that's basically it, guys. So those are the tips that I have for hiding alopecia at the areata stage. So as I said at the beginning, I am by no means saying that you need to hide your alopecia. However, I know that it can be useful to have advice and tips or things that you can potentially look into that may be able to help you if you don't feel comfortable talking about your hair loss. And I just want to also say that, again, hair loss is an extremely private matter. You don't need to share it with the world. If you want to keep it to yourself, that is perfectly fine. I can say from experience, in my own opinion, talking about it is a lot easier than trying to hide it. However, I also know that you could not have paid Lauren when she was 13 £100,000 to talk about hair loss. It just would not have happened. I was far too insecure, and having options that allowed me to hide my hair loss made me personally feel a lot more confident. And if that can help anybody else, then this video has achieved its purpose. It's basically it, guys. So I will see you on the next video. Bye!